Okay, moving on to the third portion, slide 21, a little bit more about Birth of a Nation. It was one of the biggest box office moneymakers in the history of film. Um, they charged $2 a ticket. Now remember, Nickelodeon was 5 cents. Of course, you could watch something that was about 2 to 3 minutes in length. Here you're watching a 3 hour movie and he charged $2 for it. It made $18 million by the start of the talkies. Okay, remember this was still a silent picture. It's worth $226 million in today's money. The subject matter of the film caused immediate criticism by the newly created NAACP, um, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and renounced as the meanest vilification of the Negro race. There were riots in Boston and Philadelphia, Chicago, Denver, St. Louis, and other major cities refused to show it. That's how bad it was. Um, Film scholars agree, however, that it is the single most important and key film of all time in American movie history. Please remember that. That will be on a test. It is the single most important and key movie. Not the greatest, not the best, the most important. It introduced and refined camera angles, traveling shots, artificial lighting, realistic sets, flashbacks, split scenes, screens, soft focus, dissolves, fades, and irises. It made Lillian Gish a star. She had a very long movie career. Lillian Gish, everybody's heard of Lillian Gish. Everybody who's probably 45 years or older, okay? So now we move into Cecil B. DeMille, who was also one of these, like a swashbuckling director with his special chair that had director on the back of it and his, megaphone and that sort of thing. Um, he lived from 1881 to 1951. Both of his parents were playwrights. He enrolled in the Academy of Dramatic Arts and in 1913 formed the Jesse Lasky Feature Play Company with Jesse Lasky and Sam Goldwyn. Later became Paramount Pictures. Sam Goldwyn was Goldwyn Mayer, perfected the switch from short films to feature length, often credited with making Hollywood the motion picture capital of the world. That's one of his legacies. He made Hollywood the motion picture capital of the world. And here I start with hiccups again. He gained fame with romantic comedies that were considered racy for the times. With Hollywood under pressure to clean up its image, he switched to biblical epics featuring the same saucy scenes with a morality tag at the end. Kind of interesting. You can find all sorts of sexy scenes doing biblical work. Notable silent films of the time period: The Ten Commandments in 1923 and King of Kings in 1927. He was a showman and self-promoter. He embodied the image of the ultimate director, baggy pants and megaphone. As film transferred to the talkies, his movies became epic masterpieces. And here we see some scenes from Ten Commandments. You have to give him a lot of credit. The people he hired to make the scenery, they were fantastic. And look at the costumes, extremely realistic. He produced Cleopatra in 1943, and then later on, perhaps you've seen Elizabeth Taylor in the I guess it was a 1960s version of Cleopatra. She made a gorgeous Cleopatra. And then Samson and Delilah in 1949. Also, very beautifully done. I mean, of course, I didn't see it in 1949. I wasn't around, but to look at the clothing and the realism in the not just the apparel or the costumes, but the scenery um, and the way these people acted with each other. Um, Now we move into the movie The Greatest Show on Earth in 1952. This was also Cecil B. DeMille. The Greatest Show on Earth was about the circus, which was later on called The Greatest Show on Earth. But this was in 1952. Looks like Charlton Heston there. Charlton Heston was a big star of the times. The Ten Commandments was done in 1956. Charlton Heston, Yul Brynner. I gotta tell you, I saw Yul Brynner on stage in Chicago in real life. Here's Charlton Heston as Moses on the left, and it's just really exciting in those days. The stars today aren't like this. These were huge stars. Imagine he's in a movie and I get to see him live in person on stage in Chicago in another drama. Well, these are some famous quotes of Cecil B. DeMille. The public is always right. My father took that. My father was a wordsmith, and in his store, he put something up that said, "The customer is always right," and then he crossed through "always" and wrote underneath it, "sometimes." You are here to please me. Nothing else on earth matters. That lets you know what Mr. DeMille thought of himself. Give me any 2 pages of the Bible and I'll give you a picture. That's what they called a movie back then, a picture. And he could.